Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I thought we would do a sketchbook tour. I am one of those people that have a bajillion sketchbooks and never finishes any of them. So today I actually have two sketchbooks that I finished. Woohoo! I was originally only going to show you this one, which is the second sketchbook that I had finished. I'm not sure what the brand is, but I've decided to actually show you my first sketchbook that I finished as well, and that's this Canson sketch. The reason why I decided to show this to you is because I started this sketchbook way back in 2016, and maybe even earlier. So there's a lot of really bad art in this. And I finished this sketchbook last year, 2023. And so there's a wide range of art in this. And I feel like a lot of sketchbook tours, you see people having beautiful sketchbooks with a lot of beautiful art, and they're going through sketchbooks, in months. And sometimes that's not the truth of it. For me, it's been a roller coaster ride getting into sketchbooks. I've always wanted to be one of those people that really love sketchbooks and love filling them up and can just be a prolific artist, but I have many mental blocks in regards to sketchbooks. I always want my sketchbooks to be beautiful, and oftentimes I'll be gifted sketchbooks that are beautiful on the outside, and then I go, oh no, I don't want to ruin this sketchbook with an ugly drawing. But the truth of the matter is, if you want to improve at art, you just got to do it, and you're going to make ugly art. It's just going to happen. And I've actually learned that I quite enjoy looking back at some of my ugly art. Some pieces I hated in the moment that I actually like now, and then there are some pieces that I just loathe. But it shows me the progress that I made while learning, and it shows me how far I've come. So let's get started. This is a Canson sketch that's just meant for pencil or pen or dry mediums. It's very low weight, 65 pounds. So I don't use any mixed media in this. And we'll just get started. This first page, I actually think I started this as an intention of using this for my job. And at the time I was working for a mobile app company, so I was kind of commissioned, I guess, given a job to make these icons for this app. So that's just what this first couple pages are. I'm just going to go through it quite quickly, because even though this is an old project, I don't know if it's under NDA. So if I get in trouble, I get in trouble, whatever. In this project, I was doing a weather app, so I was also making icons for that. Also icons here, and then I started using it for whatever I wanted. So this is a life drawing that I did. I'm not sure where I got the reference from this. Probably from one of those life drawing websites, like Line of Action or something like that. I used to use those websites a lot. Here are just some random doodles. One of the big problems that I've always had in art is not really knowing if I want to pursue something more realistic or something more stylized and cartoony. So here I was practicing doing some stylized pieces. I always felt like I was better at the more realistic stuff, but I couldn't quite grasp the stylized stuff, even though I desperately wanted to be able to draw stylized art and caricatures and cartoony stuff. So you'll see a lot of me in this playing around with doing different stylized pieces. But yeah, right now most of these are just doodles. Here I was experimenting with exaggeration, which didn't really work out in my opinion. And then here's another thing that I did quite often, was I would do a drawing and then come back to it a couple years later or whenever and see how I've improved. I would do the same drawing over and over again. So this, I believe, was the first drawing that I did, which was okay. There's some proportion issues in this. And then I did this one as the second, which I actually really like. I thought this one turned out quite cute. And then I have this one that I did a few years later after that. And this is kind of like a mix of the two styles. So it's not quite realistic, it's not quite cartoony, but I also really like this one as well. I thought it's got a unique sense of appealing aesthetics. Random doodles in pen. This was a sketch that I really liked at the time and now hate. This is Misfortune from League of Legends, and there's all sorts of proportion and anatomy issues in this. Another random doodle. This was from same League of Legends. There's a player named Stixay, and I was drawing him as a butler. This is another random doodle, some sort of fantasy shaman character. Again, another mage type fantasy drawing in the more realistic side. I really like this still. There's still a lot of anatomy issues and things that could be improved, but I quite like this, especially her face. This was for my master's degree thesis project, which I was doing a degree in visual development for animation. And I had this character and I was creating some facial expression sheets for her. These are actually pulled out because I pulled them out of the sketchbook to scan them. And then this one was a failed attempt at a character who was supposed to be her mom, but I felt like she was not looking old enough. She looks kind of the same age, so I stopped drawing there. Another random doodle. This was not related to that project. This was separate. Just a random character I decided to doodle. Some notes on comic ideas. These were going to be a page of poses of that character from before. Didn't really work out. I didn't finish them. This I actually have vivid memories of. I had a really, really bad headache. And so it felt like drills in my head. So that's what I drew. I drew my headache. And it's actually quite interesting when you have an experience that's very vivid like that and you're able to draw it, and then it kind of recalls that memory right back for you. Here I was trying to go back to basics. So I was just doing some basic shapes and some shading. Here I was doing some facial experiments with different face shapes, and then here with different sized noses, different eye tilts and angles, again in a more realistic style, more realistic drawing. I still like this. There are some issues, I couldn't do foreshortening, so definitely some improvement that I could have made there. And then some random blank pages. Here I was designing a character for a comic idea that I had that I never actually made, but she was some sort of fantasy character that lived in the woods and had a mask. I still quite liked that character. In this page, I was really interested in reading the Stormlight Archive books by Brandon Sanderson. So this sketch is supposed to be Kaladin, who's the main character for that book. And I'm not sure who these are, just random sketches, but that's what that was. These were some life drawings, so me attempting to be very gestural and draw people some life. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to draw very light. So drawing heavy is quite difficult for me. So I'm sorry if these are a little hard to see on camera. They are done with a very light hand. These are drawings of my husband. I think at the time he was not yet my husband, but I'm not exactly sure where in the timeline we are. This is a drawing that was just a random doodle, and I hate this. This was a drawing that's also a random doodle, and I guess I was experimenting with some wet mediums to see if it would bleed through, and it did, so I didn't end up using any of wet mediums in this sketchbook. Here's when I was starting to get into Critical Role, and if you don't know what Critical Role is, it's a D&D show made by a bunch of voice actors for video games and TV shows. It's really great. This is Laura Bailey, who is my favorite on that show, and she's some sort of elf character thing. Just some random sketch. I think it was supposed to be Pandora's box or something like that. Another couple of pages. I tend to leave a couple of pages blank because I intend to take an idea and pursue it further, and then I don't. And so here, this is my daughter drawing. Now you can see I'm about halfway through the sketchbook here. My daughter was born in 2020, so this here was from 2016 to 2020 at the very least. So probably 2021 because she wouldn't have been old enough to be able to actually draw. So right here already is like 5 years. So that shows you how sparsely I actually end up drawing. And it's also very possible I was still drawing, but just doing it in different sketchbooks, which I tend to do. I tend to flip-flop. I don't tend to stick to one sketchbook, or at least I didn't. I'm trying to get better about doing that now. So these are just some scribbles from my daughter. Same here. And here she was asking me to draw, and then I was drawing with her. You'll find in the second half of the sketchbook, we do a bunch of drawings together. And here is where you'll see a bit of a shift in my art. I was experimenting a lot with more graphical shapes. I actually quite like a lot of these sketches. I was discovering I really liked square faces, and I was doodling a lot in pen and in ink. If you are a new or beginner artist, or you just want to level up your art, I would highly recommend working in ink. I feel like there is a mental shift that kind of unconsciously happens when you pick up a pen rather than a pencil, because you know that you can't erase. So you're more careful and you're a lot slower in making your art, which I think is really, really great, especially when you're doing studies. For me personally, whenever I'm trying to learn how to do something new, I will almost always pick up a pen rather than a pencil, because it allows me to unconsciously be forced to focus on what it is I'm drawing more, which aids me in the learning process a lot more. So that's just a little bit of advice. But here I was drawing a lot more cartoony, a lot more stylized drawings, and I actually quite like a lot of these. At the time, I viewed a lot of these as failed drawings, but I actually think a lot of these have a lot of personality. And here's where I started switching over to basically just ink, and I was trying a lot of really like cutesy stuff, like this ice cream cone who says, "I'm too cute to eat, right?" And this lamp that says, "I watch everything you do in bed, you perv." I was just doing these ridiculous drawings. And this page, I love this page. This is one of my favorite pages of the sketchbook. This was children who are angry but still polite. This was my daughter, was about 2 years old, and she was saying no thank you, but she was like screaming it at the top of her lungs. And it was just such a funny time. So I decided to capture it, and I actually really love how these came out. Here I was trying to think more graphically, as it says, and trying to do a lot more shape-based drawings. I felt like I was drawing a little bit getting too stuck in the details, which I tend to do. Here's a bit more of a realistic drawing. I was feeling upset about something, no way out. But I really like this drawing. This was some more pen doodles. This was based off of some picture, I think probably on Pinterest. And this was just a kid doodled out of my imagination. I actually really love him. I feel like he looks like the type of character that you would see in the movie Coraline, with like the wide, frightened eyes and but the forced smile. I feel like it's very Coraline. Now here is when I started getting into Domestica courses a lot. I'm gonna have to put it on the screen because I don't remember what class I was taking. It was a watercolor class, but I was learning about blind contour drawings, and I had so much fun with this class. I would highly recommend it. I'll post it on the screen, and I'll also share a link below. But I loved this class a bunch, and I feel like I really learned a lot. And then here I was back to doing some more realism. I was drawing my daughters. So I actually dated this one. This is in 2023, and my daughter was 3 years old. Oriana is her name. My other daughter, who was born in 2021, she was almost 2 at this point. Her name is Vara. So those are my daughters. I adore this drawing. I'm not too crazy about this one in my younger, but this drawing I really love. I feel like I really captured her features quite well. And at that time, she had this habit of wearing this princess crown, and she would never take it off. And even though it was too big for her, and it would always fall down onto her forehead, and she was constantly just pushing it back up. She loved the thing so much, she never took it off. And I feel like I really captured her really well in this picture. Here was another attempt on the same day of drawing them too, from a different angle. I don't feel like I really captured them very well in this picture. But I do remember this day quite vividly, I think because of these sketches. And I wrote, Vara skipped her nap, and now the only way to keep her from crying hysterically is to let her watch simple Spanish. Both my daughters ended up leaving their naps when they were very young, unfortunately for me. This is back to Critical Role. I was doing some more sketches. This is from Campaign 2. This is the character Caduceus, and this is Jester. Jester is my favorite. And I think this was supposed to be Ford. I wasn't really all that crazy about this page, but I'm still really glad that I did it. I think I had a lot of fun drawing it. Here is again more doodles. I was drawing much more exaggerated, I think inspired by that Domestica course. And here is where I started doing doodles with my daughter. So Here, I think she was telling me what to draw and I was drawing it. So I would say, oh, should he have glasses? And then she'd be like, yeah, I want sunglasses. So I drew glasses. And she named it Daddy, even though this looks nothing like my husband. Again, some more drawings, some little studies. And then here, 2 cute drawings. And I don't know. I don't know what that is. It's just, I don't know. Over here, I was doodling way more loosely. This is when I was really having a lot of fun with drawing with my fingers at the very edge of the pencil rather than over here, so that I got a lot of these very choppy and interesting lines. And so I was having a lot of fun. This is just a random character. This is actually my mom, and this is my dad. And this is just some random baby. It's not one of my children. And then here I was playing a lot with proportions and different ways of drawing things in different sizes. So a big nose, really big eyes, etc. I really like this page. I feel like it's very fun and there's a lot of personality to this page. Here is the same, a little bit more of the same, more exaggeration and doing more shape-based things. While over here, contrastingly, is these are life drawings from photographs. So I was using one of those websites that provides some free references for illustrators and artists. And I really like the way these came out. I thought these were really fun, and I actually thought it captured the likeness quite well. So here, you'll start to see more environments. If you haven't noticed, draw a lot of characters, a lot of people. That's what I'm most drawn to, is people, and I find them very interesting and fascinating to draw. But one day I had the thought, I should really work on my environments because these people have to live somewhere. So I started doing some studies of environments, and you'll see there's not many, not yet. I find that I am not great at environments. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to improve, but I'm actually quite happy with the way this came out. This is a rare drawing. These, I think, were more drawings from reference, pictures on the internet. I think these 3 were all pictures from the internet, and she was from my imagination. This is my daughter. She was wearing her oversized tie-dye t-shirt that we made together. We had a tie-dye day, and we tie-dyed shirts for the entire family, and it was way too big for her. It still is. But we had a lot of fun, and she loved that shirt. Here I was doodling the family again. I was very tired, so that's me, my husband who's hungry, Buzz Lightyear, and Woody, of course. This is when my girls were going through their Toy Story phase. And here is Oriana and Vara, and they were playing with cutting their hair. There's their toy scissors, but they went through a phase where all they wanted to do was play with hair. And then here is just a random drawing. I want to say this was from my imagination, but I'm not actually sure. I don't quite remember. And then the lovely, amazing Audrey Hepburn, along with some doodles that I hated. And then here I was holding onto the pen, and my daughter was holding onto the pen at the same time, so we're joint drawing. This is Daddy, and then Oriana's self-portraits, Vara, and me. And I love how they just slowly get smaller and smaller on every page. Here I was doing some character design, not quite thumbnails, they're not quite small enough to be thumbnails, but it was very interesting. Here I was doing some life drawing from outside. This is the outside of my house that I lived in prior to this one. Hated it, so that's why it's incomplete. Over here I was drawing a tree that was dead in my backyard that I thought had a really interesting shape. I actually still really like this. I think this could make a really interesting design for like a sorcerer's staff or something. This was a drawing of my daughter's playhouse, and then me trying to stylize a tree. I'm also very not good at drawing trees. A page full of doodles. These were all from my imagination. This was my daughter's drawing, lots and lots of scribbles. And then this was a combination. This is me drawing my youngest daughter, Vara. I think she was about 3 years old at this time. And then she filled in the rest with her drawings. So this is the rest of the family. I love this page, of course. And then this was prompted by my daughter also. She wanted me to draw me and my husband. and then she doodled on top of it. Heroes with getting into more Domestika courses. This is a class by Sarah Van Dongen. Highly recommend as well. I'll also link this one. I think in the intro she said, feel free to draw or sketch while I'm talking. And so I was like, okay. And then I doodled her. I was still kind of struggling with a more simplistic, childlike style here, but I still like the way it came out. And this I actually dated. This was September of 2023. Here I started struggling hardcore with anxiety. So when will life start feeling so overwhelming? So I had a bunch of anxious drawings, but I still really like the way these came out, and the way the style kind of worked. I was working more with color pencils here. And then my daughter's scribbles. Here, she was asking me to teach her how to draw cats. So I drew a very simple cat, and this is her version of it, which I think came out pretty good for a 3-year-old. And then here you'll see a very big shift in my art. I'm the type of person, I don't really know how this works for other artists, but I have a tendency to get really frustrated with my art and hit a block, and then I'll take like a break from art for like a week or so. And then when I come back and start drawing, I'll feel like somewhere over that week, something will have clicked, and I'll see this big kind of jump in improvement in my art. So I feel like that's what happened here, because I love these 2 pages. And as you see, I started drawing a lot more with this Kohl Erase pencil in Carmine Red. You can see it's kind of small now. So you'll see a lot more drawing in these pencils, and I think that these drawings are really cute. I really like the way these came out. So you'll see a lot here. I was drawing more realistic, and I love this piece. I also love this page. I feel like this character is really fun, and I need to do something with her because I just want to go on adventures with her. She looks like some sort of goddess, and she looks like some sort of fantasy ranger who lives in the woods and is really good at tracking. So all of these are from imagination. Even this one, I was just doodling from imagination. Here I was playing with the idea of branding myself as Sketchy Stuffy. And I still really like this. I think it's really cute, the idea of like a sketchbook thief. Here I had discovered Furry Little Peach. If you don't know her work, I'll link her below. I loved her style as well, and I did a page just inspired by her style. Here's a character of mine from an animation project that I'm working on. You'll see more of her later. And this I went back to marker. I don't know what this guy is, some sort of monster in trousers. I think he's adorable. And then my last drawing is upside down. This was a drawing with photo reference from Pinterest, I believe. I felt like this was a little bit too big for this sketchbook. Her head could benefit from being up a little bit more. But overall, I still like it. And then that was it for this sketchbook. Some logo ideas, and then this drawing is from back in like 2017 or something. This is old. I don't draw consecutively, but that's it. You can see a pretty big improvement in my art, like from these early days, in my opinion. From like, especially the stylized, I feel like improved quite a bit. So that was the very first sketchbook that I finished, and I finished it late 2023. And so I was so inspired that I set a goal to finish another sketchbook, and then I did. So here is sketchbook number 2. And this one I used much more mixed media, and I started August, so there's some overlap between these 2 sketchbooks. And I finished in October, so quite recent. And then this is a paperage sketchbook. I don't know the weight of this sketchbook. I don't think I have the information still. But it's a little bit heavier paper than this sketchbook paper, but it does buckle quite a bit when using wet medium. That didn't stop me, of course. In my opinion, sketchbooks are for buckling. They're for making mistakes. They're for messing up and being ugly. So that's what I did. I did a ton of mixed media in this one. So I started off right away. This was from a Domestika course. This character specifically does not belong to me. He is from a Domestika course that I will again flash on screen now because I don't remember the details of it. But I highly recommend this course, especially if you're interested in character design. It was a really, really great class, and I learned a ton. And you'll see I used a lot of this coal erase pencil in the beginnings of this sketchbook. So these are a lot of just doodles from my imagination, with the exception of this character who I was following along with the teacher in the video. Here I had gotten my daughter some new costumes. So this is Vara wearing her chef costume, and Oriana had dubbed herself Aster the astronaut. I love these sketches. I think they're adorable. Here I was playing with different types of ways to draw eyes. And then this is a character you'll see again throughout the sketchbook. I was playing with the idea of using this character for a comic. Here, this was an idea for a character that I had that I wanted to make for an animation. Still might. I haven't decided yet. Blank page, I was testing out some pens here. Here I was doing chicken drawings. I think right around here is when I discovered the artist Monkey Mintaka, who I am still very, very much obsessed with. If you don't watch her, go watch her. Her name is April, and she's hilarious. I love her. If you're watching this, April, I love you. This is me playing with ideas. I wanted to make this into a full, bigger, finished illustration. The idea is like she was kind of the bringer of winter. I still might do that. Along with this was a tree where the roots are lightning. I don't know if you could see this on camera. I drew this very light. I apologize, but I also might finish this and make it a finished illustration. On this page, I had done that exercise where you draw a bunch of random shapes, and then you kind of see what you can see in them, and then you finish them based on your imagination. So I really like some of these. I love this frog, for example, and this guy yawning. I think he's so funny. And then here's when I splurged and got some new materials. I got the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils, and I got all my favorite colors. And so I decided to test them out in these swatches, and then I drew a bunch of characters in different styles using each one. And I love some of these and I hate some of these. But it was a lot of fun drawing, and I love these pencils. They are really beautiful pencils. Here's a gouache painting of a toad with mushrooms growing on his back. I don't know why I did him, but I kind of love him. He's kind of cute. So this was in March. So already I'm kind of slacking a little bit if I started this in August. So this is August to March, and I'm not doing very well. This is also in March. I was doing some more mixed media. I believe this is a mixture of watercolor and gouache with some color pencils. And I'm not sure if I have some neocolors in there too. I might. This was a gouache painting that I did. I'm not that crazy about this character. I do love the cat. I think he's adorable. There's something that bothers me about her. I'm not sure what it is. I think maybe that the paint color is too light. I might repaint her hair, but I might just leave it and just do something else and just move on. Here I was experimenting with materials, so I just drew this fun little character. I believe this is when I had gotten my my Caran d'Ache, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Neocolor 2s. So I was experimenting with using those in layering. So I think these are also watercolor pencils, or maybe they're just more Neocolors. I'm not sure. This is quite a funny page. This is when I was experimenting, and I actually hated this painting while I was drawing it, but then as soon as I finished, I loved it. I was drawing this from reference. I think it was on Map Crunch. And I think it's quite funny because I did a lot of heavy watercolor drawing on here on this page, and it reactivated the Caran d'Ache, the Neocolors on this page, and it transferred over here. So I thought it was funny, and I didn't realize it until much later. I just wrote, oops. Here I was very inspired by Becca Hall. There's an illustration that she did that's very similar to this one. I did not directly copy her. I did find my own reference image, which I will put on screen. So it's very different. And I'm actually wondering if she found reference image like very similar, because I didn't actually draw this with the intention of studying her, but it feels like a study of her, which is very funny. And it's just kind of one of those synchronistic ironic moments, but I had my own reference image that I found off Pexels, and I loved it. And this bird actually had like a seed in his mouth that I took out because I didn't want it. Here's the same character from the beginning that I told you might see again. This character right here. And there I was experimenting with putting them in some life situations. Here I was experimenting with a character for an animated film that I wanted to make a short. And so I was just doing some character design. I kind of vaguely knew what I wanted her to look like, but I wanted to experiment. And this is the end design that I ended up with. I actually finished making her and fully rigging her in my animation software. So I have to finish making this animation because she's already ready to be animated. So the next few pages is going to be all related to this. So I have a couple of animal characters in the same sort of style, some bears, again in the same style, and then here I moved on. Here I was experimenting with materials. Here these are Neo colors, I think exclusively Neo colors, and this was watercolor with pencil on top. Here is the same character from this animation, but I was doing a storyboard. So these next few pages I'm going to go through real fast so I don't ruin the story for you guys, in case I do make this animation. But that was just storyboarding the story out. On this page, this is the one I discovered Joe Todd Stanton, and I loved his art. So this is actually not, again, an original piece. This is a drawing that he did that I was trying to learn from. So I copied it into my sketchbook as closely as I could, trying to learn from how he constructs his characters and how he makes his art. And then I went, and I think I did this page second, and was trying to use, again here, what I learned from him and his art, which I'm not crazy about. Here, my daughters were experimenting with my materials, which is funny. And then here, I was just doodling something random. So I think I was really frustrated because I hadn't made art in a really long time, and I was frustrated by the fact that I hadn't made art in a really long time. So I was like, I'm just going to make whatever I want. Whatever comes out, and it ends up being this lady who just got out of the shower but forgot to rinse her hair and still has soap suds in her hair. And then here, this is one of my favorite pages. I don't really do full illustrations that often, and so this is pretty rare for me, which is one of the reasons why I really love this. So this is this little old witch who's just cleaning her floors and hiding some of the casualties from her spells and experiments. But I really love this page. I think it's really, really cute and tells a pretty nice story, a pretty fun story, which is something I'd like to do more of, is full illustrations that actually tell a story. That's really one of my goals in art. So I left this page blank intentionally because I didn't want anything to bleed through and affect this drawing. And then here, like I mentioned before, when I was doing my other sketchbook, I had really, really struggled drawing shoes. So I grabbed a pen and I did some shoe studies, and I think it turned out really good because these two shoes, ignore these heels, these two shoes here I drew from memory or from imagination. So these are all studies using pictures, and then I drew these from imagination. So again, reiterating what I said before, if you're learning something new or you're struggling, I would highly recommend picking up a pen because it forces you to really focus on what you're seeing, because you can't undo your lines, right? So something I really love and I'm doing more of is just studying with pen. So I was already finished with this page, and I was like, all right, let's just keep going and doing some more studies. So I did some feet, did some hands. Still two areas that I struggle with, but who doesn't? Some very exaggerated character that I'm not really crazy about. I don't really like how this came out. I love, however, how this came out. I was very inspired by an artist whose name I am blanking on, so I will flash it on screen if I find it. I had found her work on Pinterest, and I was trying to emulate a little bit of her style in this, but I really love the way this came out. This is from imagination. This is not a study, but I was trying to emulate another artist's style in this. On this page, you'll see I have a big gap because I drew a character that belonged in another sketchbook that's dedicated for my animation project, and I really liked the way I had doodled her here, and I really liked the way it came out, so I ripped it out and I pasted it in my other sketchbook. Maybe I'll share that sketchbook later. But that's a dedicated sketchbook to this animation because it's all concept art for this one project. But these are all just random sketches from my imagination. I really like the way these came out, especially this character right here. I think he's pretty cute. Over here, this is a fairly similar exercise to what I did on the other page where I drew random shapes, except instead of drawing random shapes, I drew random swatches in watercolor, and then I went back to see what I could see. Obviously some of it's missing because I had that other illustration on the other side, but I didn't like what came out of here anyway, so I didn't miss it. But I really love this one, the two characters hugging. I think it's really sweet. This one's my favorite. And then this is actually the same character that I ripped out from here, from my animation project. Her name is Ella. I'll share more with her soon. And here, here I was going to sketchbook or storyboard a comic idea that I had, and as you can see, I didn't get very far. Over here, I was doing some much more mixed media and experimentation. I think these were watercolor based with some neocolors on top. I really love her. She kind of reminds me of Ursula from The Little Mermaid, but not. But I think she's a lot of fun. This page, I had some extra paint and I smeared it all over this page just so I didn't waste the paint. And then I ended up drawing this on top of it. I have a love-hate relationship with this page. I like the idea. I don't like the execution. I really like the way these trees came out. I do not like the way this boy came out. And I do like the idea that there's all these little hidden characters in the trees of this forest watching this boy just stroll through. But I feel like they're not really all that noticeable. So maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I'm not really sure. But this is an idea that I'd like to develop further at another time. So we'll see what happens. But I do love these trees. I do love these colors too. And this one also has a bit of a story on it. This was back in my last house where tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy kept happening. A tree had fallen on our house, and then shortly after, the fence fell down. So this was a very stressful point in my life. And my husband cleared away the fallen fence, and I could see behind to these trees, and I just kind of liked the view. So I was like, all right, I'm going to draw this. And I decided to do it in a mixed media way. So I had, I think, a gouache base, and then I went on top with both color pencils and neocolors, and then I hated the way it looked. And then I kept coming back to it. I went and I continued with the sketchbook, but I kept coming back to it. I think because this is a very heavy page because there's so much on it. So every time I opened my sketchbook, I would open it inadvertently onto this page. So I was like, well, maybe if I just keep working on it, maybe if I just keep adding, it'll get better. And I actually think it worked because I kind of like the way it looks now. It's not my favorite, but I do like it. So I guess if you have something that you really hate, maybe don't give up on it. Just keep trying. And it might just be in the ugly phase. Who knows? And then here was me documenting my older daughter who was being goofy. She had stolen her sister's socks and put them on her head or her hands and put her underwear on her head and was walking around naked. And I thought it was hilarious, so I had to, of course, immortalize it in my sketchbook. Here's some just random character doodles. This was intended to be a finished illustration that I was just trying to capture the idea of. I wanted it to be an oil painting. And I might still, because I still do oil paint. As you'll see, as I continue with this YouTube channel, I don't stick to one medium. I don't stick to one style. I can't. It's become something that I've just learned to kind of embrace. I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to be a hot mess, and I'm kind of okay with it at this point. So I might continue with this. This has all sorts of anatomical and proportional mistakes to it. It's literally just meant to capture the idea. So that's what that was. Here was me playing with Monkey Mintaka style and doodling a puppy. I think this was from imagination, but I was watching a lot of Monkey Mintaka at the time. Here, I love this page, first off. But I had found an artist, I don't know their name because it's not posted on Pinterest, but I had found this artist on Pinterest who did a lot of paintings with this kind of red base, but intentionally left the red in. So I tried to kind of emulate that style. So this is an original painting. I used watercolors and I layered on, and I kept on going from pencil to watercolor to pencil to watercolor, trying to keep the red lines and make sure that it was still there. I really like the way this came out. I think it's beautiful. And then I really don't like this page. These were Neocolors, and this was, I think, watercolor and pencil, and I promise her hands are supposed to be behind her back, not down her skirt. Here I was taking another Domestika course, which I have yet to finish, and here is just me sketching out some ideas for the project that I was going to do for it. This, I have no idea where this is or where this came from, but I think she's adorable. I love her. I think this is just a really, really cute style, and I might do something with this. I'm not sure. Here I found Chaos Ego, and I was really loving her style, so I was trying to make my own drawing that emulated her style. I considered it failed, though, because I did not finish. I was going to have a whole bunch of plants and flowers growing out of her head, and I didn't finish it. So here's another similar, also inspired by Chaos Ego. I will link to her in the description because I, again, very inspired by her and her work. And then this page, I love this page as well. I wanted to do some more character design, but I wanted it to be very loose and gestural and just fun. So again, I was holding my pencil like kind of the way you're supposed to if you're doing fine art, like this, and I was just kind of scribbling. And this character came out. This is just kind of like this raised by wolves, lives in the forest kind of character. And I loved her. And on this page, my daughter had asked me how I had drawn her. So I was kind of explaining and redoodling her. But she told me that she needed to have a pet. So gave her a cat. But I love this character a lot. This page is another page of experimentation. Over here was Neocolors, and this was gouache. Here I was trying really hard to layer and come up with a kind of a more patient way of working with the gouache. I think these were acrylic gouache. But I really love the way this came out too. I tend to be very impatient when I make my art. So this is kind of unique for me. Trying to be patient, trying to actually create a cohesive illustration. It's something I also do want to do more of, but again, I need to work on my patience because I am lacking in that. Here, I was also working with acrylic gouache, but I was working much more watered down. And I had this illustration idea, this kind of character in my head that I was trying to get down. It did not come out the way I wanted it to, but I still kind of liked it. And I still liked kind of the angry, neutral, kind of thug-like character that it turned out. And I was like, he needs some tattoos, but I decided to make them silly tattoos, so they're ice cream based. This guy is a angry thug who loves his ice cream. Here, this is my daughter drawing with me. She asked me to trace her hand. And here I was doodling a tree that I think we were on my front lawn, and we were just hanging out outside. And I decided to draw this tree, and my daughter said it should be an apple tree, so I put an apple on the ground. Here, again, I was just doodling. This is a study from another artist. I don't remember her name, but she also has a Domestika course. I did not take it, so I cannot recommend it. I don't know if it's good or if it's not. From my experience, all Domestika courses tend to be pretty good. So it might be a good course, but I was really intrigued by the way she did her shading, so I decided to just kind of imitate her character. It's on the thumbnail for the Domestika course, so when I flash it on screen, you'll see it. And then this is supposed to be Bluey, but because the teeth came out all janked up, it kind of looks like that character, I don't remember his name, the Cowardly Dog. I'm blanking on all the names today, but it kind of looks like him. And I think it's kind of funny that I was trying to draw a TV show from now, and I ended up drawing a TV show from like 20 years ago. Here I was drawing with pencils only. I think I was experimenting with just doing color pencils. This was a drawing using mixed color pencils on from a Pinterest reference. And this is from my imagination. I don't like this at all. I think her proportions are way off. And I didn't like the way it came out. This was me studying Becca Hall. I think I just finished watching one of her YouTube videos, and she had described her process of drawing. I think she was drawing bears in that video, but I decided to draw a cat. And I had a lot of fun. I highly recommend watching Becca Hall's videos. She is really great at explaining, and she's got a very cute art style. Highly recommend. Here I doodled a fairy, and then this was my daughter's drawings. I don't know if this is supposed to be a self-portrait or if she was supposed to be drawing me. Either way, we were outside and she hijacked my sketchbook. Blank page. This was when I had joined Schmo Draws. If you don't know her, she's Simone. She is an amazing artist. I have her art book here somewhere, but she is an amazing artist. I'm going to link her as well. She has weekly art practices that she does and recommends, and she has a Pinterest board that you can follow where she will post kind of drawing inspiration and encouragement. So she had posted a bunch of children. She was hosting drawing challenge of children. So I participated, and these were my drawings for that week. I really loved this one. This was the next week after that where we were drawing expressions, and I did not like those. I like this one. This one did not turn out very well. I think I was going for too realistic of a style, but when I kind of relaxed and went into a more stylized version, I liked it a little bit better. This page I quite love. I don't love her legs, but I love this character's face and her upper body. I love the way she turned out. And then here I was just experimenting with drawing random shapes with highlighter and then filling it in with trees. At this point, I was very inspired by the TV show Bluey. So if you watch Bluey, they draw their trees like this with these little kind of different shaded sections. So I was trying to emulate Bluey in these drawings. And then this was just random drawings. This, I think, was the beginning of Peachtober and Inktober. And this was when I was very naive and thinking that I was going to do both Peachover and October, and I did not last past day one. So I was sketching some ideas for this, but it didn't go anywhere, sadly. Over here I had wanted to do a mixed media illustration, but I wanted to do like something that was a bit more cohesive and finished. So I drew this angry character. She's actually supposed to be me as a child. This is not linked to any sort of memory or anything though. She's just me as an upset child. I did not like the way it came out though. I wanted her pose to be more dynamic. So I actually redrew it over here in a way that would have been more dynamic because her pose here is way too straight. She's not exciting enough really to capture the imagination. And her legs are also kind of broken. The anatomy is not really quite working very well. So it could have been better, but live and learn. I'm happy I did it. And then if I were to redraw it, I would probably do a sort of foundational sketch. I kind of went in it just drawing, just starting it. I didn't have any sort of plans. So I think that's one of the reasons why it came out kind of stiff. Over here, I was doodling again some more. This is a bit more kind of children's literature style. I really like this page. I think it's very cute. I was just kind of experimenting, but I really like this character. I think she's a lot of fun. Over here, I was, again, just doodling random characters. I think he's really fun. He looks like a really fun character. And then here, a local art gallery was having a call for entry, which I didn't actually finish anything, so I didn't actually get to submit any art, but I was doodling some ideas. It was for kind of a Halloween themed, and so I was just doodling some ideas here. This is, again, some ideas for the same exhibition. This is me drawing my cat. He was kind of harassing me while I was at work. So I was like, do you want me to draw you? Okay, I'll draw you. So I drew him. And these were all studies from reference from random people on Pinterest. Here I was also working on trying to be much more loose and hold my pencil in the correct way and be much more loose and gestural. I think I was also at this point very heavily inspired by Isabelle Arsenault. I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly, but she's an amazing illustrator. She's over in France, I believe. Here I was watching a YouTube video and I decided to start sketching. I had just got my Sailor Food, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, pen, and so I was doodling this. I actually made a pretty huge mistake and drew her eye too high, so I drew one below it, but I'm actually okay with the fact that she's got 3 eyes. I still really like this illustration. And it goes to show you that you can make pretty big mistakes and still really like it, and it still comes out aesthetically appealing. So again, keep going. Here I was doing another Domestika course by an artist named Marissa. I'm not sure what her last name is. I'll post it on screen. But I decided to draw her. She was very fun to draw. It's a children's illustration class that I'm very much loving. Here I was doodling with some oil pastels and I hated it. Here I was again trying to do just a landscape from imagination. At this I was trying to do mixed media. I think this was mostly neocolors and maybe a little bit of watercolor as a base. Not quite sure, but I think it's mostly neocolors. This one was me doing watercolor, and again, this is another case where I was frustrated because I hadn't made art in a really long time. So I was like, I'm just gonna make some art. And I actually quite like this, with the exception for the fact that her head is too big. I was intending to exaggerate it. I wanted it to be very exaggerated, but I think I went a little overboard with the exaggeration. And I think if I were to cut it off like right here, it would look much better. But again, c'est la vie. I could probably fix it in post in Photoshop or in Procreate if I wanted to, but I'm for now just going to leave it as is. And here I was sketching a bunch of random characters, trying to go really exaggerated with some of the features and see what happened. I really like a lot of these characters. I think they're pretty cute. This was me doing that same, this is Marissa again from here. So this is the same person. Doodled her again, and this was the character that I had drawn for class. So I had invented this character. She's a kind of like this child witch, and I had this idea to have her kind of like at a lemonade stand, but instead of selling lemonade, she's selling potions. So that's an illustration that I'm currently working on, and I will definitely share it with you when it's done. And then these are doodles of my daughters. This is my youngest. She had this habit of drawing faces with just kind of arms and legs sticking out of it, and I loved it so much. And then this was my older daughter. She went through this period where she was sick for like 2 months straight, and we went through so many tissues. So this is me sketching her with a runny nose. Here was me doodling again with pen. And this is another drawing where I was experimenting with lost edges. So I intentionally didn't draw her ears or her chin. And again, I really liked the way this came out. This is not normally my style of drawing. I don't usually omit parts of drawings, but I really like the way it came out. So this is something I want to experiment more with. This is some more drawing from imagination. This was me drawing partially from imagination. These were from imagination. This was another teacher that I am taking an online Domestica course with, and I drew her. She had a very discerning look on her face, but she's a really great teacher. This was a YouTube video that I was watching, and this was a character that I drew based on an image I found on Pinterest. And then here I was watching Emma Malyalka. I was watching her YouTube video, and I had to go attend to my daughters for something. I don't remember what, but I had to pause the video. And when I came back, I noticed that I paused it on the screen, and I thought it was so beautiful that I had to draw it. And again, as you know, I'm not great with environments, but I'm really happy with the way this came out. I think it's very cute. The color's a little bit off based on the videos, but I worked with what I had, so I'm okay with it. But I'm quite happy with this. I really like this. This was my cat. I had bought him a cat bed. I don't know if you can hear him. He's meowing right now, literally. And then this is the end of the sketchbook. And I intentionally drew this character as the end. And then I'm the type of person that I like to do my materials testing at the end of the sketchbook. So this is actually the first page that I did in the sketchbook, where I tested my materials to see how the paper reacted, to see how different materials layered on top of each other. Here is when I got my Tombow colors, and that's it. That's the end of this sketchbook. So as you can see, again, a lot of evolution in my art. A lot of moving away from realism in this sketchbook. I did a lot of more stylized art, a lot more mixed media, and it was a lot of fun. So that's it for these two sketchbooks. Sketchbooks number 1 and 2 that I finished. Woohoo! So I hope you like this video. It might be a little bit of a long one. I'm hopefully going to be posting more often, but we'll see. And if you like it, leave a comment, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye!